Well, they are crossing the border in record numbers. Tens of thousands of migrant children fleeing their homeland only to be caught by Border Patrol.
The problem prompted President Obama to declare it a humanitarian crisis. Now, lawmakers are scrambling for solutions. So who's to blame here? In tonight's reality check, NBC's Sam Brock examines one theory that the president's own policies, Sam, paved the way for this controversy.
Raj, Janelle, good evening. You know, there is certainly a case to be made here on that front, Raj. Back in 2012, President Obama issued an executive order meant to help some children stay here without documentation. Critics say that decision sent a message to unstable parts of Latin America that resulted in the current border crisis. But is that really what is driving the surge of children trying to get into this country?
It's an innocuous-looking aerial, offering the 30,000-foot view of an issue tearing through the country on the ground level. Tens of thousands of unaccompanied migrant children, and in some cases their mothers, shuttled and bussed across America. Final destination unknown. The numbers are surging, and fingers are starting to point.
The Deferred Action Program is for kids who came to this country 7 years ago. It's not for anyone who comes to this country today, tomorrow, or yesterday.
Homeland Security Secretary Jeh Johnson emphatically told David Gregory on Meet the Press that President Obama's executive order in 2012 deferring deportation for some migrant children, called DACA, was not to blame for the uptick in unaccompanied minors. But is that true? Check out this graphic of apprehended migrant children that comes from U.S. Border Patrol. In 2011, the total surpasses 15,000. But in 2012, an explosion of migrants from Central American countries like El Salvador and Honduras brings it up to nearly 25,000. So far this year, we're already at more than 45,000 and counting. All this growth after DACA. Is the president's policy to blame? Elizabeth Kennedy, a Fulbright scholar studying immigration in El Salvador, says no.
You know, if you find yourself in a position where you are targeted by crime, you do not have anyone to turn to. So your options are to stay and possibly die, to flee within the country and see if they don't follow you, or to flee outside of the country.
Kennedy argues that cartels and gangs and terrifying homicide rates are forcing kids out, not the lure of a presidential executive order that doesn't even apply to them. Here's what the facts say. The White House has issued travel warnings for El Salvador and Honduras. In El Salvador, the U.S. government says almost 10 people are killed a day. And these countries have some of the highest murder rates in the world. But is this the primary reason migrant children are being detained at 3 times the rate of just a couple years ago? As this crisis continues to unfold in California's communities and beyond, that, for President Obama, could be a stretch.
And the administration now estimates that there could be as many as 90,000 migrant children swept up by the end of the fiscal year. If that happened, it would represent a 600% increase from the total before President Obama's order went into effect 2 years ago. So the reality is, while heightened crime in Latin America could absolutely be making the situation worse, the numbers suggest the president's policy had something to do with it. I'm Sam Brock. That's today's reality check. Back to you.
All right, some good perspective. Thank you, Sam.